This is video 2 of the Ellie Aline crossbody bag, and we're going to be doing in this video the flap construction, which is on page 9 under flap, step 1 through page 10, step 7. For this, you're going to need your 2 flap pieces, which is piece B of your pattern. You'll need your hardware, your snap, your magnetic snap, or whatever flap closure you're using for your bag. And so we're going to begin with getting both of your flap pieces, and we're going to put some fabric glue on one back side of one of these flap pieces. So we're going to put these 2 flap pieces together. My fabric glue gets a little bit thick, so I'm going to see if I can hurry this along a little bit. Smooth this out a little bit and see if I can get this all evenly distributed. Okay. Now the piece that has the Decoville light on it is going to be your top flap piece. So when you put those together, make sure you know which one is the top and which is the bottom. Get those pressed down good together so that they'll dry and be stuck together like you want them to be. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and do my top stitching around my flap before I color my edges. And I'm going to be using an Angelus leather paint to color my edges, and I'm going to use a gray. I don't have a nice blue that will match this, so since I'm using the gray top stitching contrasting thread, I'll use gray on that edge as well. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and make that row of top stitching around, and then I will put my magnetic snap on, and then I will color my edges. Make your top stitching edge once again 1/8 inch from the edge. Okay, now I've got my top stitching done all around the edge, and I'm going to put my magnetic snap on next. I see a little bit that I need to trim off, and you can do this if your vinyl doesn't match up, or you have a little bit, one piece a little bit larger than the other. Just go ahead and give it a little trim. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and now put my magnetic snap, my edge piece. Let's get the magnetic snap for my flap, and I have made two little marks here in the center where I've kind of flattened that flap off a little bit so this edge piece will fit up there flat whenever I put it on. And so I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Tells me where my center is. You want to make sure you've got that lined up correctly in the center. So there's my center mark, and then I've got these two other little marks where the edges of my magnetic snap is going to go. And I've got two little screws that go in the back side of this. These little screws get lost really easily, so be sure you kind of know where they are. Yeah, I've already got one that's gotten away from me. Where could that little thing have gone? Okay, let me stop here for just a minute and see if I can locate the little screw. Okay, so I located that little screw. So now I'm ready to put my flap on, my magnetic snap, on the flap. There we go, got that on. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is do the edge coating, the coloring around my edge, and then I'll have to let that dry before I can attach it to the back of the exterior. So we're going to do this, and then I'll let it dry, and then I'll come back and pick up where I left off with the rest of it. You want to keep a damp cloth nearby when you do edge painting so that you can brush off what you get that kind of gets on the front or back of your piece. Just kind of run your damp cloth down the side of each one of these edges and wipe off the excess that may have gotten on your back or the back or front of your flap. Then do the same thing around the side. This can be a little bit time consuming, but you just need to take your time so that you've got your edge colored neatly. Be very careful whenever you've already done your top stitching that you don't get any edge paint on your stitches or you'll have blotches. Now if you have a vinyl or a leather that you just want to leave a raw edge, you're certainly welcome to do that. Especially if it's the same, close to the same color as the color of your vinyl. Where mine has a white backing on it, that would really show. And so I always try to color that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Always wear some of this. So it's a good reason to keep your rag close by. Okay, so we've got that all done. Now I'm going to lay it aside and I'm going to stop the video until the edge coat dries, and then I will attach it to the back. I'll come back and show you how to do that. So be back in a little bit. Okay, we're back and we've got the edge paint drying on the flap. And so now I'm going to take the exterior front and I'm going to place my snap for the other half of the magnetic snap on the front, on the exterior front. And it's going to be down 6 inches and centered from your top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right here I've made a mark. I'm going to take my seam ripper and get that right where that mark is and make a little slit. Going to put some fray block on it. And on the other side as well, make another slit. Some fray block. And attach my snap. Make sure it's in the center. Looks good. And again, I'm going to put a little piece of Deco Heavy behind that snap. Okay, now this is where that's going to go. And I'm going to take this flap and mark 2.5 inches from the top edge, because that's how far down we're going to put that flap onto the back, on the exterior back. Make sure I've got a mark at the bottom in the middle for it. And I'm going to put that flap down 2.5 inches. I'm going to align the top, center of the flap, and align the top marks with the edge of my exterior. Let's make sure we've got it centered. Yep, okay. And if you want, you can use a little piece of double-sided tape to attach that to your exterior if you want to think you might have some shifting on it there. I'm going to take it right over to the flatbed and stitch it down. I think it'll be fine without the double-sided tape. So let's get over here to the sewing machine. We're going to make one line of top stitching right on the edge of that flap so that we can attach it to the exterior. Make sure it's still on the right mark. Okay. Pull those threads to the back. Okay, there we are. And now I'm going to put a rivet in each corner. I put them about a 1/2 inch in and a 1/2 inch from the bottom. So here we are. We've got the rivets installed and the flap is in place. Here's the front. So that's the way that it will look whenever it's finished. Of course, we'll have the gusset in. So that it concludes the video for the flap installation. And the next thing that we will do, we will go back to, let's see, page 8, and we will begin at step number 16, which is moving into the bottom, the bag bottom feet installation and the gusset installation and the strap connectors installation. So that will be the next video that I will do, and that will be video number 3. So I'll see you then.